Rhaenyra the Cruel is the title of the second episode of Season 2 of House of the Dragon, and we have a lot to talk about today. The Greens are a mess, Rhaenyra is starting to grow paranoid, vengeance is in the air, and brother will stand against brother in this fantastic episode that's easily one of the best of the series so far. Hey everyone, I'm Mariana, this is Impression Blend, and welcome back to another House of the Dragon episode breakdown and review. We will talk about everything that happened, everything you need to be paying attention to, what it all means for the future, and how it compares to the book, Fire and Blood. As always, a big spoiler warning for this episode and everything leading up to it, but don't worry, no spoilers for future events from the book. Let's get into it. We open with chaos at the Red Keep following the murder of Prince Jaehaerys. The atmosphere is grim, people are being rounded up, the search for the prince's killers is ongoing, and meanwhile, Aegon is taking his rage out on Viserys' model of old Valyria. I'll kill them all, he yells. Traitors and villains, fire from the sky. This is war. For one, this dialogue felt very Mad King Aerys coded, the last Targaryen king, the one killed by our favorite Jaime Lannister, but also this definitely felt symbolic of the complete and final destruction of Viserys' peaceful legacy, his desire for his family to get along and to unite as they mine their history and prepare for the future. Instead, his family is as fractured as ever. First blood has already been spilled, and this is only the beginning. The Greens in particular are the most divided we've seen them so far. They all feel alone, they all feel frustrated, they're all looking for someone to blame, and very few of them actually talk to each other in a meaningful way. While Aegon is raging, his brother Aemond is wandering around on his own, realizing he was the actual target of this assassination, and trying to work through his issues at a brothel, mommy issues included. Alicent is consumed by her guilt, but unable to talk about it to anyone. Helaena is traumatized, and Otto is becoming more and more frustrated by the state of his family as he attempts to use this tragedy as a tool to turn the small folk against Rhaenyra. And it works, because he knows how to work people. Otto convinces the Green Council to hold a public funeral procession, putting grieving Queen Helaena and Alicent in a carriage behind the body of Jaehaerys and taking them through the streets of King's Landing, putting on display what's referred to as the works of Rhaenyra Targaryen, pronouncing her kinslayer, which is a big taboo in the world of Ice and Fire. It's obviously a big no-no in the real world as well. It's not unique to Westeros, but there are multiple references to this being the worst thing in this fantasy universe in particular. Rhaenyra herself at one point says in Fire and Blood, "No man or woman is as accursed as the kinslayer," so this isn't an accusation that would casually be thrown around. This is generally a fantastic scene in every aspect. Visually, the setting, the cinematography, the costumes are absolutely stunning, but more importantly, emotionally, this is a very impactful and upsetting scene to watch. You can really see how uncomfortable Alicent and especially Helaena are during all of this to begin with, but then the procession gets stuck and the crowd begins to surround them. Plus, they kept cutting back to the body as they were trying to get the procession unstuck from the pothole, and it kept shaking. I was starting to get worried it was going to roll off or something. The head was going to roll off. It was stressful. It was a lot for everyone involved, but Otto's strategy is effective. We hear the crowd sympathizing with Helaena. We hear someone yell a curse on Rhaenyra the Monstrous. This scene is also intercut with what's happening in the cell where Blood has been captured and immediately gives up the name of Daemon Targaryen as soon as he sees Larys bring out the torture instruments. after which Aegon comes in and kills him. There is an interesting shot during this scene with Helena looking up at the hops falling around her, and we linger for a bit on that, which made me question if we should be reading into it. She's a dragon dreamer after all, and the hops look reminiscent of either ash or snow falling. It made me wonder if she's having another vision of either war or winter. Maybe what she's seeing is related to Aegon the Conqueror's dream Viserys talked about. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Meanwhile, at Dragonstone, when Rhaenyra hears about the news, she cannot believe she is being blamed for this, particularly as a mother who just lost a child. But then she realizes this is actually Daemon's work, and the two of them have an awful fight. Awful for them, amazing for us to watch on screen. What's interesting about this is that we actually see Daemon unambiguously state for once what he did and didn't say. After seeing him leave everyone guessing about how dark he actually is multiple times on the show, this is the case where he repeatedly denies saying anything other than ordering the murder of Aemond. Unfortunately for Daemon, his honesty is not accepted. No matter how many times he denies that his intentions were anything other than revenge on Aemond, Rhaenyra doesn't believe him. "I cannot trust you, Daemon," she says, and then begins spiraling into questioning his commitment to her overall, his motives, tells him she thinks he's using her as a tool to get to the throne, which in turn makes him really angry. This argument gets vicious pretty quickly. She kind of reverts to that teenage Rhaenyra who really needed constant confirmation that she matters and that she's accepted, that her being named as heir isn't just empty words. Even the way she asks Daemon, "Do you accept me as your queen and ruler?" and starts questioning his past actions, this reminded me of how back in season 1, during the Royal Hunt episode, she asks Kristen Cole a similar thing. "Do you think the realm will accept me as their queen?" That girl is clearly still there, and the self-doubt comes out again, but as an adult, this makes her begin to question people's loyalties, which could be a slippery slope. This increasingly paranoid Rhaenyra is definitely something that happens in the book, although it happens later, but it still makes sense with her character. There is a confidence learning curve for her, and it's clear she never felt like she's truly accepted as an authority figure, so it's something she needs to get past if she wants to rule, because sometimes it feels like she herself doesn't fully accept herself as an authority figure. Back to the scene though, the fight made me very sad, even though this is a very well written and exceptionally performed scene where you can understand where both sides are coming from. I'm just personally invested in this weird power couple, and I don't want them to fight, I want them to dominate together. But as of right now, this argument remains unresolved, and Daemon takes off for Harrenhal to capture it for Rhaenyra. I love that shot of him leaving on Caraxes in full armor, just looks epic, and good luck to anyone who tries to stand in his way. We do also check in with a few characters throughout the episode just to establish what they're up to. We see Hugh Hammer and his family struggling as a result of the blockade and lack of money. We see Alan and Adam of Hull and learn that Adam is looking for glory and fortune, while Alan is more cautious, wary of the upcoming war, and we do get a shot of Adam looking up at a dragon in the sky. This is Seasmoke, Laener's dragon, who is currently riderless. There is some questionable dragon lore here, which I'm not going to get into, but if you've read the book, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But since Laenor is technically alive, the dragon should know that, but I don't think the show is going to worry about that. Corlys and Rhaenys apparently have the healthiest marriage in Westeros, and Jace and Baela, who, if you remember, are betrothed to each other, have a heart-to-heart about fathers, which is a very sweet and heartwarming scene. That is a stark contrast to how Aegon and Helena just pass each other by on the stairs, sharing a look but never saying a word. This is what I mean about the Greens being unable to talk to each other in a meaningful way. They're mostly alone in their grief this entire episode. Alicent is heartbroken and feeling guilty, but doesn't get any real comfort from Otto, who is busy plotting his PR strategy. She then tries to talk to Helena, but the only thing they actually talk about is the strategic necessity of the public funeral, while Aemond talks to none of his family. Aegon is an absolute mess, can't comfort Helena, and is absolutely consumed by grief himself, which leads to his desire for violence and revenge. Which, by the way, Tom Glenn Carney once again steals the episode with his performance that is so contrasting to episode 1. He really manages to bring out the humanity in Aegon, and even though you know this is leading to awful things for which there is no excuse, unlike someone like Joffrey from Game of Thrones, he isn't some twisted monster for the joy of it. We understand the progression of his character. But he does kill Blood himself and then orders to hang all of the castle's rat catchers because Cheese would be one of them. His thirst for vengeance is only getting stronger, and once again, nobody is there to comfort him. There's that heartbreaking moment at the end of the episode where Alicent walks in on him sobbing, says nothing, just turns around and leaves. But she does that because that's how she gets treated as well. This happens right after she once again tries to tell Otto about her guilty conscience, and he shuts her down. "I have sinned," she says, and Otto replies, "I do not wish to hear of it." That is brutal for Aegon and for Alicent. None of the Greens are able to be functional parents or behave like a real family, and that clearly keeps getting passed down from generation to generation. What's important about Aegon killing all of these rat catchers is that this effectively undoes Otto's efforts of winning the small folk to their side with the public funeral, and Otto is furious. We have seen him grow increasingly frustrated with his family, but this really pushes him over the edge, and there is a great scene towards the end of the episode where he just comes in to scold Aegon. He doesn't care that he is the king because it's his grandson and he fucked up big time. But we remember that last episode, Larys planted those seeds of doubt in Aegon, implying he looks weak, listening to the same hand Viserys listened to, and Otto just pushes it too far with his anger, which gets him fired. This is the second time Otto got fired from his job as Hand of the King. Will it stick this time? We'll see. But more importantly, who is the new hand? Sir Criston Cole, Mr. I wasn't on duty, which got the heir to the throne killed, but somehow I still got a promotion? I mean, what could go wrong? Aegon says, "I wish to spill blood, not ink," which is a great quote from the book that made it into the show. "My new hand will be a steel fist." There's a lot of great dialogue and excellent acting in this scene. Truly one of the highlights of the season so far and of the entire show, really. The back and forth is brilliant. The insults are brilliant. Otto's and Aegon's reactions are brilliant. No notes. This scene also serves as a significant parallel to the argument between Rhaenyra and Daemon earlier in the episode. Not only do both Aegon and Rhaenyra dismiss their most capable and powerful allies, the people who get things done, questioning their methods and intentions, but also Daemon and Otto go way back with their animosity. We've seen them hate each other since the very first episode of the entire series. Both of them are also going to continue serving their respective sides, at least that's what it looks like at the moment, and it's going to be interesting to see where that leads for Aegon and Rhaenyra. But back to Criston Cole, who has his own guilt to deal with, and his strategy to make himself feel better is clearly to pick on other people. In this case, he chooses to pick on Ser Arek's soiled cloak. What I love about that scene is when the two of them start getting into a more heated argument, the rest of the White Cloaks in the room just pack it up and leave. Wise choice. And this is where Ser Arek gets sent to Dragonstone to kill Rhaenyra while pretending to be his twin brother Eric, who is with Team Black. He actually gets pretty close. He's able to pose as his twin, find Rhaenyra's chambers, but as he pulls his sword out to kill her, his brother Eric bursts in, presumably warned by Mysaria, who was just let go by Rhaenyra and saw Ser Arek walking up to the castle. The two brothers have no choice but to fight. I thought this part was done really well, and the show really captured the tragedy of this fight from the book. It's brother against brother. It's devastating. They're still family and they love each other, but they're on different sides of this war, and the fight itself is very symbolic of the Targaryen civil war that's beginning to unfold. During the fight, you can't tell which of them is which, and that's actually the point. It doesn't matter. They are the same. They're brothers, and they both die. "I still love you, brother," one of them says. In the book, we read, "In the end, Ser Arek and Ser Eric dealt each other mortal wounds and died in one another's arms with tears upon their cheeks," which is a very poetic ending to the fight. They kill each other. In the show, it's more about despair because winning the fight means the other side of your family is dead. So when Ser Eric kills his brother, this isn't something he can live with. He proceeds to impale himself on his own sword, to the horror of everyone watching. So where does that leave us at the end of the episode? Well, to put it simply, the war is closer than ever, and both factions are feeling its inevitability. Team Green is a fractured mess. Team Black is less of a mess, but the current rift between Daemon and Rhaenyra isn't great either. Aegon is thirsty for vengeance. Rhaenyra is considering her next move. Daemon is off to Harrenhal. Otto seems to be on his way to Highgarden to assure the support of the Tyrells, and to Old Town to reconnect with Alicent's third son, Daeron, whom he hopes might actually be able to listen. This is the first time we hear about Daeron on the show, and I'm actually really glad they're introducing him. He's supposed to be the same age as Jace, although they might make him younger for the series, and he is a dragon rider, so he definitely matters. His dragon is Tessarion, also known as the Blue Queen, and I really hope we get to see the two of them this season. As for Alicent and Criston Cole, those two can't help themselves. The episode ends on them carrying on with their relationship, and I do wonder if this is also the result of them being unable to be honest with anyone else other than each other. They clearly feel guilty, but they can't share that with anyone else, and in a weird way, that brings them closer together. That, and they also hate themselves and have obviously decided that if they're damned anyway, they might as well. Once again, what could go wrong? I love watching the two of them actually, specifically because they are such a train wreck. I'm just enjoying their terrible decisions. I expect tensions to rise to the breaking point in the next two episodes, resulting in our first big battle halfway through the season, and dragons will certainly be joining the fight. But as for this episode, I loved it, and like I said in the beginning, I think it's easily one of the best of the series so far. The show is doing an amazing job with characters this season, and complex characters is what I fell in love with in the World of Ice and Fire to begin with. It's a dialogue-heavy episode, but diehard fans of Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire will know that people talking in rooms is one of the best things about the series and about George R.R. Martin's books. We love to see it done right, and this episode delivered above and beyond. It was so interesting how, just like episode 1, episode 2 deals with fallout of the death of a prince, but the approach is so different, with Team Green really spinning this to their advantage, while Team Black missed their opportunity. Aegon, as portrayed by Tom Glencarney, continues to be the MVP of the season so far, kind of stealing the show, which is surprising. He has so much charisma, and his character is much more interesting here than he is in Fire and Blood. So many fantastic scenes this time around. Aegon's grief, of course, every scene with him really, but particularly the first Green Council scene and him firing Otto. The funeral procession was stunning. Rhaenyra and Daemon's fight was excellent. And of course, Cargill Bowl, R.I.P. Eric and Eric. Hightower parenting skills are at an all-time low, tension is at an all-time high, but here's another important theme that's emerging and that you should be keeping an eye on: the struggles of the small folk. We already know they're being affected by the blockade, but they really hammered it home this episode. We also know Otto's PR team turned them against Rhaenyra, judging by the funeral, and I'm sure Rhaenys killing a bunch of people at the coronation last season doesn't help either, but Aegon hanging the Ratcatchers didn't do the Greens any favors. As Otto points out, he murdered innocent men who are fathers and brothers and sons. We also hear Madame Sylvie, who you should remember from last season, tell Aemond, when princes lose their temper, it is often others who suffer, the small folk like me. This is definitely something to pay attention to, because for the people, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who sits on the Iron Throne, as long as the people are able to live in peace, feed their families, and be happy. But right now, it's kind of starting to look like both sides are bad news for the small folk, and the writers keep inserting that into the episodes, so keep an eye on that. There were a few check-in type scenes which didn't deliver as much as the rest of the episode, but overall, nothing that stood out as a scene without a purpose, and even those smaller moments were interesting to see. So far, 2 episodes into this season, we are doing great, and I'll even go as far as saying that the fallout of Blood and Cheese this episode was more impactful for me as a viewer than the Blood and Cheese scene itself last episode. But great stuff all around. I'm loving what I'm seeing, and I'm really excited for the rest of the season, hoping they can keep this up. But what did you guys think of the episode? Let me know in the comments below. And if you missed my breakdown of the season premiere, I have it right here, ready for you to watch next.